Well, good evening, everybody. And we see there are people in the chat already. And we have, I always tell them that it looks like faith to me when it's F417H. Every time I look at it, it looks like faith to me.
I agree.
I love that. Jeannie is in here. She's saying hi to both of us. Now, Garden to Table with Heather Lynn. I have just subscribed to her like a week and some ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was probably from one of your lives.
Yep, she was new. I met her through Wicked Awesome Gardening, and I actually was on a live with her, and she's very new and very sweet.
Yeah, awesome. And Ann Dale is just popping in. Hi, Ann. How are ya? And Brian at Castle Hives. And Ann and Brian are both members of Suburban Homesteader Wyoming. So that is awesome.
Cool.
Seed Faith Homestead is here. Oh, Southern Roots. She had a live today.
Yep.
And Tina Ladybug is in. Awesome. So people are starting to say hi to everybody. I love that when they do that. And
I
Tim
do
is
too.
here. Hi, Tim. Now, if you do not know my guest tonight, this is Lisa, and she's from Yogi Hollow Farm. And she is back from where I grew up. So it's so exciting. So, Lisa, I'm first going to let you just introduce yourself a little bit. Tell them about how long you've been on the homestead, anything you'd like to say.
Sure. And I just want to say hi to everybody. I didn't want to interrupt Sandy. So hi to everybody in the chat. Thanks for coming. Appreciate y'all being here. We were in Asheville, North Carolina, and we ended up having an opportunity, thanks to Ryan's employment, to come out to South Dakota in 2019. So I was in North Carolina. He was out here, and he would commute back and forth, believe it or not, because I was being stubborn and said, we're not moving for a year, darn it. Well, that was March when he left. And lo and behold, I think September, I said, okay, we're done. I'm moving. This is ridiculous. So long story short, I came out in January of 2020. And that's when we came out. We had just closed on the house here in the Southern Black Hills. And so we were here, and then the world changed as we knew it, is what I like to say. And I was working remotely at first, then not working when everything changed. And I was looking for work here, and I said, oh my gosh, like, we need to do something different. And the ironic thing is, and I say this because it's funny, is we were going to have the owners of the house, the previous owners, take all the buildings off because we didn't want them.
Oh, no.
Because at that time, for years we talked about homesteading. We were going to do this, do that. We never did it. I'm going to be honest. We never did it. Something always got in the way. And well, we never did it, and we left all the buildings. So I walked through a big box store that had baby chicks one day and said, we really need to get chicks. Now, I've said this for years, but I never meant it, because I said, oh, we don't have a coop. We don't have this. Mm-hmm. I said, we have a coop. The world is getting kind of crazy. We need to do this. And boom, that's how it started.
Awesome.
So we started with a dozen chickens, and we have 2 acres of land. That's all we have. And we're right outside city limits. And so that worked in our favor. And we started renovating buildings. In fact, I released a video today, and I know Jeannie had mentioned it, some raw footage of me and Ryan joking around about moving a building before we had a YouTube channel. With no way to move it except for a John Deere lawnmower.
Oh my gosh.
But we were cheap, and we were not going to get rid of that building because we knew that it had good bones and we could figure it out.
That is wonderful.
And that's where it started.
Yeah, I love that story. I do. It's very inspirational for people, because a lot of times we dream and we dream and we dream, but we don't take that first step.
Right.
you know, and you guys made a big move. You looked at what you had and you made a first step. And
Yeah.
that's fabulous.
We got scared. I mean, I'll be
Oh,
honest, we got scared. We just said, like, you know, if the world is going to change significantly, we need to change with it to do well. Otherwise, we're going to find ourselves in predicaments. And we just, you know, and I'm not talking from a drastic freaked out perspective, just a wow, like this is making us really look at things. And so once we had the chickens and we enjoyed the eggs so much, I said, well, you know, we've got other barns, we can have something else.
that's
And
right.
that's typical Lisa, you know, before you know it, I'll have giraffes on the property.
No, let's take a second and we're going to say hi to Karen from Karen in the Kitchen. Um, LP is here saying hello. I'm going to scroll down. I hate it when I miss anybody. Craig Tim is here. Now, Craig and his wife Debbie have a cabin up by Custer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so they are close to you.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Come visit.
And Bunky from Bunky's Garden is in, and she's part of the Vineyard Chicks. And everybody knows Bunky is my superhero, and I love Bunky. You know,
I love Bunky too, and her new plant, basil.
I know, basil. I saw that, and it was just like so cute. And I'm just scrolling through, and I think I have not missed anybody. Oh, look at Carolina Hill Country is here too. I did grow up in South Dakota in Rapid City in the Black Hills, and for basically most of my life. And I love the Black Hills. And Lisa is only basically about 20 minutes from where my mom and dad live in the summertime.
Mm-hmm.
And so I am going to go visit her this summer.
Yay!
So I'm totally excited. And Paul's Green Space is here. And it is like 13 hours difference from our time zone to Paul's time zone. So I always appreciate it when he pops in. And I think, oh no, Nisi's here too. Hi Nisi, how are you? Are you feeling all good and better and wonderful?
I hope so.
I think she was a little under the weather. Boots and Bounty is here. Hi. And so hello. And Outdoors with Big Matt. How are you? Awesome. Oh, look at, and Daz is here.
I don't know who that is.
You do so. She's so ornery. Who is this guest? Oh, I don't know. I just found her on the internet. So funny. Okay, so I've been watching your videos for quite a while now. And oh, let me say hi to Donna real quick too. How are you?
Hi, kiddo.
And one of the things I love, because I love recycling things, repurposing things. I find it a cornerstone of being self-sufficient. Mm-hmm. And I know that's what you guys do. Mm-hmm. And that you are very economy-wise minded. Mm-hmm. And I think that's probably something that really draws people to homesteaders. And am I correct in when I look at your videos and that's what I'm pulling out of them?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, look at the raw footage that wasn't even made for YouTube. Today we'll tell you that we were moving a barn that everybody thought was going to be matchsticks by the end. But it made it. And the reason why we did it was because it made so much more sense to move what we had. And if we broke something or needed to shore it up, we put it in a spot that we needed it rather than building something new. So we've done that with all of the barns that were on the homestead. We've only built one new one. And even that was Thrifty. But yeah, I mean, we ended up gutting the inside of that one just for cleanliness. We were worried about disease spreading from old animals that were in there to our own. But other than that, we have repurposed, reused everything we could find. Pallets are a good friend, as well as not just pallets, but I always tell people to look for them. It's the pallets that equipment is shipped on. Like if you order
Yeah.
a compressor, it'll come on a much larger pallet, and then you're getting this long board compared to regular pallet wood, which tends to be very cheap.
Right. And I found that those larger pallets, the wood seems to be much stronger.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like back in Wyoming, when I find those, it's just like gold, because
Yeah.
even if you're taking them apart, you can use so much of it, where some of those other pallets are much more flimsy and you're just not sure, the strength of them. And so that's a great tip for when people are looking at pallets on, should I take this one or should I take that one?
Mm-hmm.
What is it made out of? Because sometimes you can get some really nice oak ones, or
Absolutely.
other hardwoods.
Absolutely. And the other thing that a lot of people don't realize about pallets, and I'm a big proponent of speaking out about this, is you have to be careful what was on the pallet.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a chemical, it absorbs the chemical. So you have to be really careful. So if you go to a chemical factory and they have pallets for free, you may want to reconsider depending on what you're using it for, versus using pallets from an automotive manufacturing company, because oil on it is not as bad. But when you have something that's stored chemicals and it soaks into the wood, it can hurt your animals.
Right. And a lot of times with the chemicals, you can't tell, where if it was spilled oil, it changes the color of the wood.
Right.
But sometimes those chemicals, once it's dry, you can't see that. And so you just have to be careful. Now, Doug is in here from His Way Homestead.
Hi, Doug.
Doug, I don't know if Shelly's with you, but if she is, I'm saying hi to you. Doug is we always say we're brother and sisters on YouTube. And we always say, we wish we lived next door to each other.
So I've heard you guys refer to brother and sister.
Yeah. So I'm so glad that he stopped in. And everybody's just saying hi to everybody back and forth. Now, could you tell us, so you're on 2 acres and one of your goals is to reduce costs, just the everyday costs, things that, when you look at something, a lot of times in our world, we just want to go out and buy something new, but as a homesteader, a lot of times that's not your best economy, so you have things that you guys do, and so anything you want to share about that?
Yeah, we will go to yard sales. Ryan is known to get up really early on a Saturday and be the person who they say don't come early. And he will go out there. He will buy, for example, several occasions he has purchased various buckets of hardware, not knowing what was in it.
Mm-hmm.
He'll take a glance at it, see that what's in there is stuff he may want one day. So for example, he bought these hinges, and I wish I could show you the size of it. So here's a phone. I mean, the hinges were 3-4 times the size of my phone. That's how large they were. But he was able to bend them and use them on one of the small houses that we built. We ended up having the pigs in it, so we could lift the roof up to shovel it out.
Wow.
So stuff like that.
Perfect.
Yeah. So making sure that we save stuff. We're lucky our neighbor is also a fan of saving stuff. But we call it a farm store. We have 2 spots on the property where we have piles of things that we will use one day.
Mm-hmm.
We also buy up fencing whenever we can find it, and metal T-posts, and things like that, that are real important, because that leaves you money to buy other things.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than spend thousands of dollars on fencing, we have all the T-posts and the fencing we need. We buy yard sales, and then we can buy something else we want.
Yeah, cool. Now, Wicked Awesome Gardening is in. So hello. And I thought there was, Pafford Homestead is here. And John from Unpaved Explorer. So hello. Just lots of people just popping in tonight. That is awesome. Oh my gosh, I'm so far behind on the chat.
That's all right. Take your time.
And uh, when I watch you, um, I'm always inspired because you have this enthusiasm when you're doing your videos that I love. You know, I love enthusiastic people. What a surprise! But I do because I can tell that you guys are happy with what you're doing,
Mhm.
and that's important. And I think it comes through your videos, and it comes through all those things you're sharing with people. And now, besides your channel, you also do Round the Hay Bale.
Mhm.
And Boots and Bounty is in here. She's part of that too. And so tell people they might not know what that is, you know.
Yeah, so Round the Hay Bale is myself and other channels. So it's Ormsby, Casey at Ormsby Farms, Alicia at Country Mama Musings, Casey at Boots and Bounty Homestead, Monica at Bland's Promised Land Ranch, and myself. And so we all got together, and Casey had a great idea. And so we all get together, and every Monday we do so it is at 8 a.m. MST. You guys will have to figure out the rest. Because that's what time I'm on. But so we do a podcast. It's roughly an hour and a half, and it airs live on YouTube. Then, of course, the replay is there. Now that's on a Monday, and then on Tuesday it drops in podcast form. And on the podcast form goes out to Spotify, Apple, and Google. And what we talk about is we have special guests. We talk about our homesteading experience, just basically a bunch of homesteaders around the hay bale. Aside from today, we talked about canning, but one of my absolute favorites so far was the first aid kits we did a week ago today.
A week ago.
Yeah. And that's something, as you know, coming from this region, having a first aid kit and being prepared in a rural town is super important, especially when you have animals. When we had a hurt pig, I even said I called over 20 vets. Nobody treats pigs. And
Crazy.
part of that is because the area, if a pig gets hurt, we know the alternative because they're being raised for meat.
Right.
Now, mine was a meat pig, but at the same time, he's my responsibility, and I wanted to make sure he got the care that he needed. So, hence the first aid kit, because we had to treat him.
Right. Right. And that goes back to the whole idea of homesteading, that you have to be prepared for all kinds of situations.
Absolutely.
And I just want to say hi to Teresa. She just popped in. And I think sometimes we forget, you know, especially when people live in town, and it's just so easy to go to the store, go to the doctor, go to the vet. But when you're in a homestead situation, a lot of times those options aren't there. And so, you know, a lot of times you can find things right on YouTube from other homesteaders. You know, I'm doing this, or I want to try this, or this happened to my animal. What do you think? You know, not that you're asking for a medical professional advice, but they may have gone through the same situation and know, okay, you can do this, or maybe your pig ate this. And so it's a great community to just really bond together. It's really amazing.
Absolutely. And the same thing on Instagram. I've used YouTube and Instagram. And the reason why is because sometimes the Instagram gave me a little more instant response than watching all of the videos. I had a personal connection with somebody. And then I also used YouTube for some of my friends like Monica and Eric at Bland's Promised Land Ranch are my pig go-to as well.
Right.
They have larger breed pigs, but yeah, that's, you know, some of the way we had to treat an infection.
Right. Now, one of the things, in fact, on my Friday morning live that's coming up this Friday, one of the things I'm going to talk about is making money on your homestead. And sometimes you're either making it or you're saving money in different ways. But what are some of the things that you guys have found that since you're on a homestead now, Do you do anything that makes money or saves you money so you didn't have to have that output of money?
Absolutely. Unofficially, we sell eggs. We sell eggs unofficially. My husband's company is a very large supporter of the egg business, as well as some local folks and where I used to work. So that was good. So we always put that in the egg money jar, and that goes separately, and that gets put aside for if there's an emergency or something that's suddenly needed for the homestead. And it surprises you how much that adds up.
Yeah. Do you remember it used to be, and maybe people have seen this in old movies or they've read it in books, but the woman of the house had egg money, because even in the city, a lot of people had chickens. And so they would sell the eggs to their neighbors or people at their husband's work. And I think it's kind of a lost art that people don't have egg money.
Mhm.
and, and perhaps on your homestead or in your house, not necessarily a homestead even, you might have these little pockets of, okay, I sell banana bread.
Mm-hmm.
Or I know how to hem skirts and I can make a little extra money like that. So it's always interesting to see what people do to have that little extra money.
Absolutely. And so we've also done other things. I'm starting to work on making soap. I made my first batch. It didn't go so well. I realized what I did wrong. My version of Trace and the real version of Trace were not the same. So, yeah, but I have all this stuff. So I'm going to start making that now. I also want to make candles so I can start Etsy and so on. But I know that for us, our philosophy has always been be cheap. And then when you need it, you'll have it to buy it, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
So that's what we've done is we've lived thriftily. We've always lived well below our means. And that way, when we needed the side-by-side, we were able to buy the side-by-side, or we were able to buy the rake for the back of the tractor, which is going to make our lives so much easier.
Now, look at wicked awesome gardening. A little side hustle used to be making voodoo dolls. That is so fun.
Yeah. And we're also going to get more into bartering too. Like now we're using a lot more hay. And so we're going to see if we can barter with the person we've been buying hay from. So that way, here's some pork for some hay.
Yeah. See, that's a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
Because especially if you can look right around where you live, because there are people that hay by where you live,
Right.
over by where my mom and dad have their house. They hay the fields there. And sometimes you can get it for a much better price, or you can barter. And that can be really good for both people.
Right.
And Gloria, I just wanted to say hello to you. And John says, I really like real eggs. I totally understand what he's saying there.
Yeah.
Because that darker that yolk is, the better I like it.
Me too. Me too.
And even with different homesteads, depending on what the chickens eat, it can make a difference on that color. But that dark orange, rich yolk is just beyond words, I think.
Oh, I agree. I agree. And there was one other thing I wanted to say is that we just bought an incubator. And we purchased the incubator because we have bourbon red turkeys. And, I knew we were going to buy turkeys. And, when you look at the chicken catalog, it doesn't have the price in it. And the guy said 5 minimum. I said, okay. And then when I went to pick them up, I got the bill along with my chickens. And the chickens are usually $2 or $3 a piece. Mm-hmm. And my bill was really expensive. And I found out my turkeys, because they're a heritage breed, were $15 a piece.
Oh, wow.
And we had one pass away. And when we learned that we had 2 couples, we decided we're going to hatch our own turkeys to continue that line.
Awesome. See, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
Anne wants to know how your elbow is.
It is fine. It's right here. It's right here. It hurts, Ann. It's in the weirdest spot, but I'm fine. I'm completely fine.
You,
Thank you so much.
you will have to tell everybody what happened because they might not know.
I went to go feed rambunctious pigs. And I want to preface it by saying, no, my pig was not attacking me. He was not at all. I went to go feed the boys, and there's a large boar and a younger boar. So there's two different sizes, and they compete for food. And when I went in there to pick up the bowls, I wasn't paying as much attention. Something caught my eye. And Sherman came running up behind me and tried to squeeze through my legs that were only like this. And he knocked me completely off my feet, and I went flying into the rocks, and my elbow hit a rock on the way down. But I will take it because it was my elbow, not my head.
Oh, so. Yeah. And it just sometimes we just have to pay more attention. You know, they don't understand, you know, it's like even having dogs in the house, you know, they're underfoot sometimes. They don't mean anything negative. We just have to be more careful.
Yeah. And we've changed feeding practices now because that was a good eye opener. And so, because I know the first thing Ryan said to me was, well, what shoes were you wearing? Oh. You know, so I just, you know, what I do now is I, you know, either right after breakfast or early before noon, I go down there after they're done eating, and I get the bowls and I put them back out because they're not as rambunctious and they're fine. So now I just leave the bowls outside and I push them under the fence because they're just excited.
Right. Now, I put your link because Lisa has 935 subscribers. So if you are not subscribed to her tonight and you are in the chat, would you please go over to her channel? I think you will love her channel. You will learn a lot of things from her channel, and you will just see her heart when she does her videos, and you will love her. And so we can see how we can get her closer and closer to that 1,000. And so I always appreciate that when you guys can go over there. And even when you guys watch it later, you're not in the chat right now, but you're watching this later. If you go over to Lisa's and subscribe to her. And she has hit 100,000 views.
Yeah, we are excited about that.
So congratulations on that. That is a huge milestone.
Thank you. We're real excited. Yeah, we tell it like it is. You know, one of the things, and I'm working on a video now. I'm trying to figure out how to get it together. But you know, when you Google everything, you Google it, right? And you keep getting the consistent answer. And you think, well, it's consistent. It must be true. And then, you know, you walk out and you look at your chickens and they don't look good one day. And you realize when you talk to your friend who's in Canada, she says, no, 16% is not enough protein. So I've recently had to switch from 16 to 18% for winners. And, you know, that's the kind of learning that you get. And those are the kind of things I like to talk about because we all screw up, you know, and I felt bad.
Yeah, but it is a learning process, you know, and it's important to just always be striving to learn more about how to take care of your animals, how to take care of your homestead. And all of us are going to have failures, and all of us are going to have successes. And sharing both of those on YouTube is a good thing, I think.
Absolutely. You know? Absolutely. I did a video a long time ago now, but I did a video about what's the one thing that you don't put in metal chicken waters?
I don't know.
Apple cider vinegar.
Oh, I could see that.
So when you spend a lot of money on brand new chicken feeders.
Yeah.
And I got the brilliant idea to put apple cider vinegar in all my waters. We did a video on how we had to refinish them all.
Yeah.
Because I ruined them.
Yeah, but apple cider vinegar is good for your chickens.
It's very good for your chickens, just not your metal galvanized waters.
That's right. And Roy's Homestead Bees, Hello. Thanks for stopping in tonight. That is awesome. Now, I went back and I looked at different videos, from the very beginning of when you started. And there was a lot of little short videos, and those were fun. And I think your very first video was 15 seconds. And but one of yours, it was called something with the hen song. This has like 25,000 people have watched it.
Yeah.
Hen singing.
Yeah. It still gets views. It blows me away.
That is awesome.
Yeah, I remembered looking at that and I went, is that real?
Well, sometimes the shorts, they get on the short shelf and then they just spread all over the place,
Yeah.
and so that's always fun and exciting. Doug, that's in here, he has several that have been on the short shelf.
Yeah.
And man, they've just exploded. So it's always so fun to watch. And shorts are really a great thing with YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
You get to see a lot of things and a lot of information, or just a lot of laughs, because sometimes they're just fun and silly. And
we did one of Sherman. He had fly strike on his ears, and for anyone who doesn't know what that is flies will lay eggs, and then the larva will hatch, and what that'll do is start to eat at the skin of pig's ears. And so we sprayed what's called Blue Coat, which is an antifungal antiseptic on his ears, and it turned him purple. So I think we did that with Purple Rain. And then I had to put a disclaimer in the description. No, we didn't dye his hair. That was a fun one, though.
It is fun. And Donna, thank you so much for saying to give us a thumbs up. And I think Bunky's Garden did that earlier too. So thanks, Bunky, for that. We always appreciate it. And it helps with the whole analytical part of YouTube. And so we always appreciate when you give us a thumbs up.
Yep.
And Rebecca just popped in. Hello, Rebecca. How are you tonight?
Hi, Rebecca. I don't know if you know that Rebecca sent us beautiful handmade hats.
Oh, I didn't know that.
She's been sending homesteaders hats, and I don't want to throw that out there like that, but she sent us beautiful crocheted hats, and they're just the best ever. Cozy and warm.
Awesome.
So sweet of her.
Awesome. Yeah, see, isn't YouTube just one of those phenomenal things with people have such great hearts, and you get to meet people from all over the world. I mean, Paul's from Melbourne, know, and he's in here tonight. And a lot of times Tony will pop in, and he's from Scotland, and it's just amazing. All the people that you meet,
So true.
Yeah, it's been a fabulous journey,
Same here.
Sorry.
I was going to say same here. My dear friend Daz, that I said I didn't know who he was. Him and I are dear friends.
Yeah, Daz is a great guy. Yeah. And if you guys don't know him, he is in the chat, and you should. In fact, I always suggest that people go through the chat either while they're on it or afterwards, and check out all the channels that are on the chat, because you will be amazed at the channels you find that have a connection with you, and you'll just thoroughly enjoy.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's really amazing, the whole YouTube journey. Now, you probably should tell everybody how you decided to name your farm Yogi Hollow Farm.
We adopted an Old English. I was never a dog person. I grew up in Queens, and sadly, where I grew up, when folks had a dog, you associated it with the human being who had the dog. So a lot of them were junkyard dogs.
Okay.
And owners who didn't care for their dogs. It wasn't like, oh, my pet little puppy, you know what I mean? And so people use dogs to guard everything. So dogs were not a part of my world. So for me to get to the point where I wanted to actually get a dog because Ryan loved them, we adopted Yogi. And he was a 5-year-old Old English bulldog who was an owner surrender. And he lived with us till he was almost 15 years old. And he
Awesome.
was my baby. He grew up with us as a family. My son was young at the time. And he will forever be in our hearts. So we named the farm after him to honor his legacy.
That is just awesome. And tell me and everybody, what did your family think when you were going to move to South Dakota? You were going to have a homestead. You were going to change, your life. Were they all for it? Were they like, what are you doing?
Well, when we moved to South Dakota, we were in North Carolina, and when we moved from South Dakota, the first words out of their mouth were, "I thought you weren't moving again." Then when we got out here and then we started doing all the homesteading stuff, I think that they all thought we were crazy. Because they knew about my dog history and everything else. But they would say things like, "Lisa's not going to eat a chicken she raised," or Lisa's not going to do all that, or whatever. And it's just funny because Ryan grew up in a rural Connecticut town and worked on farms. I grew up in Queens. So that's what a lot of it was like, Lisa's not going to do that. Yeah.
Has it even surprised you in some ways? Or did you always know you had that in you?
I think I knew I had it in me. And I think that comes from the work that I used to do. I'm pretty good at partitioning things off. I used to work with mental health and folks with addiction, and that's challenging work. And so you learn to wall stuff off or deal with it because otherwise you won't make it.
Right.
And so Ryan once said to me when we were out processing our chickens, he's like, I asked him if he was okay because it had been a while. And he looked at me and he said to me, he says, "It's never easy. If it was easy, there's something wrong with me." And that always stuck with me. We know it's not easy, but we take pride in the fact that we pray over our animals before we process them, and we give them all the love in the world to honor them, even though they're going to feed us.
Right. Right. And I think that's a good way to look at things.
Yeah.
I think there was a time that, people didn't even want to name their animals because they knew that they were going to process them later. And some people still don't name them because of that. But everybody has their own way of loving their animals.
Yep.
And taking care of them on the homestead. And, because we've had chickens different times, lots of times, most of the time, actually. Though now that we're living in two different places, we can't have chickens because, I even had people that volunteered that they said they would go over to our house and make sure they're watered, they're fed.
Yeah.
And that's okay when it's nice out. But when it's 30 below zero in Wyoming, I just couldn't do it, so we just gave them to people.
Yeah.
But we still have our bees, they overwinter and they do it all by themselves. We don't have to do anything. And one of the guys that we gave chickens to, he goes, "Well, I could let you have some of them during the summertime, and then you could just give them back to me." There's possibilities on what you can do.
Yeah. We don't name the meat birds. I name my chickens and I joke about it, but I'll be honest with you. I have so many of the same breed. I don't know which one's which. There's a couple I can tell apart, but I collectively call the meat birds the chicken nuggets. I always go, "Hey nuggies, what's going on?" But the meat pigs, I named them Maggie and Winston.
Right.
I named them because I felt for us, naming them was respectful.
I think so too.
I feel I could call them Pig 1 and Pig 2.
Right. Right. And because you have a connection with them,
Right.
even if you put that in a compartment or shelf it off or however that person looks at it, you still have connections.
Yeah. And when we loaded them up, like they knew whenever I called their name. It's sort
Oh
of like
yeah,
now,
yeah.
Sherman and Grant know who's who. And, to me, it made it easier because, I was sitting there when we were trying to load them up and I was like, come on, Maggie, come on, Mags, get in the trailer. Of course, that's it. But the point is she knew it was me.
Right. Yeah. And Doug saying it, taking a life should never be taken lightly. Totally agree. And then because they have animals, in fact, they have pigs now.
Yeah,
this is a new thing for them. And you can tell in their videos also that, there's a connection, there's a love, an honoring of that. And that's always really interesting to me.
Oh,
Now,
for sure. I know that just talking about how we show good and bad, when I did the video on Winston being hurt, I mean, all I could do to hold back from bawling. And everybody was like, he's a meat pig. And I'm like, but he's mine. I'm responsible for him.
And fallen Arkansas veterans are in today. Hello, how are ya? And the Tinker's wife is in here too. Patty is in here. I saw her. She liked that you called them nuggets.
My friend named them that because I said, what am I going to call them? I said, I'm not naming them. I said, there's 30 of them. She's like, call them the nuggies.
Okay, so Lisa, you've been on YouTube for a little over a year, since October of 2020.
Right.
So what do you see for the homestead, for your YouTube channel, goals, things that you'd like to share with us?
The biggest thing this year is breeding the pigs. And I know that some people may not find that exciting. I can't wait. I'm like a kid at Christmas. I am counting down until February. I'm hoping that they do their thing like they're supposed to on their own, because sometimes they take a little longer to mature, the Kuni pigs. But, I'm doing it to time it so I have good weather when they farrow. But that is the biggest thing, is we are going to farrow our piglets and sell piglets. Awesome. And also maintain some of the Kuni piglets for pork.
Okay. And so that's just one other way that you're bringing income into, you got your eggs. Now you're going to have little piglets. And it is just bringing you closer and closer to being self-sufficient,
Agreed.
Now, logically, 2 acres, you probably can't be completely self-sufficient, because of where you live. How can you have like wheat fields or things like that? But you can get closer and closer, and the things that you can't have, you can barter, and that's always interesting.
Absolutely. And so some of the things that we've done is, the incubator, like I said, so that way we're able to have a continuous supply of chickens is our goal. The same thing with the turkeys, farrowing the pigs. We do have gardens. We're working on that learning curve. Ryan is more the gardener than I am. I've done some indoor hydroponic growing through the winter, which has turned out well. But we also do dehydrating. We also have a freeze dryer now that we're going to start working on. Awesome. We do. That was something we had been working to get for a while. And we decided to take the plunge because, quite honestly, I didn't grow up canning. I did just get an electric canner that I'm waiting on.
Awesome.
Just because it works better for me. There's 2 of us, but we have not bought meat from the store the past year.
That's awesome.
The only thing we have purchased is salmon from Black Hills Bulk and local cow, local beef.
Right.
But our meat pigs, we have enough pork for a year or so, and also all the chickens that we've butchered.
Right.
So I think we're doing pretty well considering, but I can't have a cow or anything, but we are contemplating sheep at one point.
Awesome. Hi, Brian. How are you? I just watched a video of Brian's just before we came on, and they had gotten like 16 inches of snow, and there was all this snow on top of the beehives.
I saw it. It was funny. He posted something on Instagram, and I remember once he said to me something about I could keep all my snow. And I commented, well, look who's got all the snow now, Brian.
And Doug, that's his Way Homestead that's in here, he has a freeze dryer too.
Oh, cool.
And he sent me some of this stuff, like freeze dried, I think, elderberries. But the funnest thing he ever sent me was Skittles. Candy Skittles. And they like pop partway open. My grandkids thought they were the best candy in the entire world.
Wow.
They were over visiting from South Dakota. And so they started eating them. And pretty soon it's like, can we take these home? Back home? Yes. So you'll have to try Skittles.
I will do that. It's funny. The first thing I made was I got my produce box because we buy that locally. And it was really funny. There was like 3 or 4 cucumbers in the box. Ryan's not a fan of cucumbers.
Uh-huh.
So I'm like, what am I going to do? And I'm like, cucumber chips. So I literally cut them in slices, put them in seasoning, and made cucumber chips. They were awesome.
See, I could really understand that because I've taken pickles, sweet and sour pickles, and then dehydrated them.
Oh, wow.
And oh my gosh, they were so good. So in the freeze dryer, I can just imagine how fabulous they are.
They were amazing. And I also did a whole thing of celery and put it in the Mylar bag and all that just to get used to how to do it. And it really was a fascinating process. I think for me, it's, I know for the canning, one of the things with the canning I worried about is my stove is not that great. And I grew up on gas stoves.
Uh-huh.
So an electric stove with a pressure canner just, for me, was not adding up. I worry about keeping the rocker going and all that stuff. And I know that sounds crazy for people who do it, but I've never done it. So that's why I like the idea of the electric pressure canner, because I can just set that. The same thing with the freeze dryer. I just let it do its thing and I can do a ton of other stuff. And yet we're preserving food.
And when you bought your freeze dryer, did you get the oilless or the type that you have to put the oil in?
We ended up getting the middle of the road that had the oil.
Okay.
And we ended up getting the whole package with like extra oil and stuff like that. It was a hard decision.
Right.
Ryan decided for the amount of money difference for the oilless that he would rather go with the higher quality oil one.
Okay. Okay. It's good to know because Joe and I have talked about getting one lots and lots of times because you can freeze dry it and it'll last 25 years. And it's like, oh my gosh,
And the first words out of everybody's mouth is, oh my gosh, that's crazy expensive. But we put money aside for it. Mm-hmm. And we also looked at how much food we're throwing out of leftovers because it's going bad before we can eat it and all that stuff. And all those factors together make sense for us. So if there's leftovers of spaghetti, I can throw them in the freeze dryer and we'll have spaghetti.
Right. Right. Now, the Elders Homestead, hello. And I like your new picture, your new icon. Very beautiful. She's saying there's an electric pressure canner.
Yes, Mackenzie. There's a Nesco and Dale Homestead has a video on it. But if you're on Instagram, feel free to reach out to me. It's Yogi Hollow Farm, and I'm happy to answer any questions. All I know about it is I can tell you what I'm buying. I haven't used it yet. Right.
Awesome. Yeah, but it's interesting. Technology just keeps improving, and because if you have an electric stove and it's a flat top, a glass top, they will not guarantee that stove if you can on it.
Right.
Pressure can it or water bath can it. If it cracks, that's just too bad, even if you've only had it 2 weeks. Right. So those are just considerations you have to understand when you go to buy certain stoves. And
Absolutely.
when we went to replace our stove back in Wyoming, I had done some research and found that out. And I asked the
Yeah.
guys at the stove place, and he says, no, they won't guarantee it because
Yep.
the heat is different on those flat tops than it is on gas or just a regular old fashioned like electric stove with the coils.
Yeah. And I have one with the coils, but I'm trying not to spend money on it because I need to get a kitchen, but we all know how that works. I'd rather have a freeze dryer than a new kitchen. I'm just being real. That's the thing. Like I have burners and it seems like no matter how often I fix them, I mean, clearly I need a new stove, but I'm waiting on that. But the thing of it is I just decided that I was worried about the up and down of the temperature and how that would affect my canning, being a new person at it.
Right.
So, and I really want a pressure can. So that's why the freezer and the freeze dryer and the electric canner were just better for me.
Right. Right. And, you have to look at your situation, your homestead, or you're just, maybe you're not a homesteader. You're just trying to do stuff in your regular house, you have to just decide what's best for your family. You have to look at good points, bad points, costs, all kinds of stuff. And that's why it's real nice to be able to watch different videos on what people like and what they don't like about certain things. And that flat top, and when you're saying that the heating fluctuation, because certain things, when you can, it has to have that constant temperature for quite a while, or it looks like it's all sealed, everything's good, but it never really got all the way through the temperature the way it's supposed to, and it could really cause health problems later.
And I'm over 5,300 feet. So I'm going to be canning for a while.
Right. Right.
Because of the elevation. And so, and one of the reasons why we bought the freeze dryer is to do meat. If we have meat in the freezer, if we realize we've produced way too much and we can't eat it in a certain amount of time, and we can get a guesstimate of that, we can start freeze drying it and it's not going to waste.
Right. John is asking the general cost for a mid-range freeze dryer.
I can tell you approximately what ours was, and we got a lot of extras because we got all the Mylar bags and everything like that. And it was, I think, a little over $3,000. But we ended up getting the sealer, we got a medium. We got the middle of the road oil pump. We got extra oil. We got Mylar bags. We got a whole setup because we had decided when we were going to order it, that's what it was. So when I say, $3,000 to $3,300, that was total tax, shipping, and everything.
Right. Right. And we're getting some different prices. So it kind of gives John an idea of what people that have them have paid. So you kind of have this mindset, okay, this is how much money I need to save if I would like one of those.
Right.
But you can just do so many foods. Like I have seen Doug and Shelly at His Way Homestead put some of the craziest things in their freeze dryer. And I find that fabulous. And the, things that work, they like what happens to it, what they don't like, what happens to certain foods. It's interesting to see that. So if you share some of those videos with all of us, we will love it.
Yeah. And I see Doug has a question email me about where to get better, cheaper oil. I don't know. We got our oil from Harvest Right, and we ended up buying extra filters and oil right from them because we decided we wanted to get everything together, and that would allow us time to be able to get, find cheaper alternatives.
Did you have to change your power at all for that? It's just regular 120.
Yeah, it's just regular. I'm just trying to see if you can see it. I always do it the wrong way. Wait a minute. You see that white? That's a freezer, and then right
next to it
is the freeze dryer.
right in the corner.
Oh, okay, Doug. Thank you. Sorry. Doug was telling me he's going to tell me where to get it.
Yeah. See,
Oh, gotcha, Doug.
Doug knows things.
Will do, Doug. Thanks, Ann.
Yeah. So, yeah, Doug is a wealth of information about all kinds of stuff. You know, he's my go-to guy.
Will do, Doug. Thank you.
Yeah. So, we're almost at an hour.
Sure.
Are there things that you'd like to share with what you're like doing this springtime, what you're going to do this summer, things like that on the homestead?
Yeah, I mean, we try to, like I said, we're going to be farrowing our pigs. We're going to be breeding our pigs, and we're going to be looking forward to that. I'm hoping to catch the whole birth process and everything like that. Mm-hmm. A lot more freeze dryer videos, because now that I've run it, I feel more comfortable with it. And also more canning, you know, and stuff like that. So that's really exciting. And again, that's all about me never doing it before.
Right.
So, excuse me. It's not like, hi, I'm an expert and I'm going to show you how to do it. It's called, this is what I did. Mm-hmm. And it came out good, or this is what I did and don't do that. And I think the other thing too is, I plan to take people along on the candle making and soap making journey. I've tried to just get a grasp on the process before I do it. Because I know people watch videos and I don't want somebody to watch it and then say, well, she has no idea what she's doing. I'd rather say, okay, this is what I'm doing. I know I screwed up the first time. Do you have any tips for me?
Right.
So, you know, because sometimes folks will go right to the video and say, oh, well, she knows what she's doing. Well, I don't, you know. So I think that's important. Trying to think what else. Okay, I would say that's a lot.
What new crazy things are you going to plant in your garden?
I'm going to try and grow bok choy in the house hydroponically. I'm going to try mini bok choy from Baker Creek.
You will love it, because I grow my bok choy from the mini from Baker Creek, and I can do it in my hydroponics, and it's amazing tasting.
Yep.
Yeah. Awesome. So you will love it. Yeah. And, you know, we do hydroponics, and it is amazing what you can grow in such small spaces sometimes.
Yep.
And I like it that you can do, like, you're cold right now. You couldn't be planting outside like I can in Arizona.
Right.
So having things inside, growing them hydroponically, or growing them in your window, if you have a really good south-facing window, it can really supplement your food source.
Absolutely. Last year, I grew the whole year using the crack key method in mason jars. And I've used that hydroponic system. My only issue is I have to, where the freezers are was where my full spectrum lights were. So I need to set up something a little differently, but that's what we plan to do. And I'm hoping to do a video on that as well.
And are you going to start a lot of seeds inside?
Oh, yes.
Your garden?
Yes. We're going to start them a lot earlier than we normally do. You know, the usual 8 weeks before frost, which is June.
Right. Right.
Our last frost is June. We're hoping to start a lot earlier. So that's on the project list to get this room up and running. This is our work room, so to speak.
Yeah, awesome. See, these are good things that we can look forward to when it on your channel this spring and summer.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, but we're at an hour, and I just want to tell you, Lisa, I was so looking forward to having you on my channel today. And I was a guest on Around the Hay Bale 1 week for them, and that was so much fun. And so I hope people check out your channel. They check out Around the Hay Bale, and that just really grows. It's like 2,000 subscribers or something now, aren't you at Around the Hay Bale? Or is it 1,500?
No. It was only, I think it was only 100 and something.
Really?
Yes.
No.
Hang on. We're going to look right now real quick.
Okay.
if you don't mind.
Okay.
Round the Hay Bale is at 133 subscribers.
Why did I think it was 2,000?
I think because you saw a post about 1,500 views.
Oh, maybe that's what I was looking at. And
But,
I thought it was always subscribers. And I thought, woohoo.
well, I just want to thank you for having me. And I just want you to know that when we had Round the Hay Bale, you were the first one that I thought of because I thought you were perfect for it.
Thank you.
And I'm so glad that you came on. And we will love to have you back. And thank you for having me tonight. I love it.
Yeah. Anytime you want me on Round the Hay Bale, that was so much fun. It was so interesting talking to everybody. And it's a great format. And I think it's just something that's going to really grow and explode. And, you know, it's just going to be amazing.
Absolutely.
But
Thank you.
I'm going to let you go. I appreciate it. Actually, when I click this off, if you'll stay on just for a little teeny bit. But everybody in the chat, make sure you go over to Lisa's channel and check her out. I think you will love her. Make sure you subscribe and enjoy her videos and enjoy her sharing her world with you. And everybody, thanks for stopping by. See you next time.